Admiral Kethavar floated in the command chamber of his flagship, watching the blue and green planet grow larger on the bioscreen. His forearms moved across the living controls, sending signals through the neural pathways that connected him to his ship. The vessel was alive just like him. Its heart beat with a steady rhythm that he could feel through the floor. Its breathing made the walls expand and contract slowly. The Zephyrian harvest fleet had been traveling for 3 months to reach this system. 27 bioships, each one grown from the sacred breeding pools of his homeworld. Each ship was a living creature, bred for war and feeding. Their hulls could heal from damage. Their weapons were living things that shot acid and plasma. Their shields were made of hardened skin that could stop most attacks. Kethavar's species had been harvesting worlds for over 1,000 years. They were good at it. They would arrive at a planet with primitive life forms, study them for a few days, then attack. The weak species would surrender quickly. Their worlds would be stripped of useful metals and chemicals. The survivors would become workers, building things for the Zephyrian Empire. This planet called Earth looked like an easy target. The humans living there had only recently learned to leave their world. Their ships were made of dead metal and plastic. They used chemical rockets and primitive fusion drives. Their weapons shot pieces of metal or simple energy beams. Compared to Zephyrian biotechnology, human ships looked like toys. The scouts had been watching Earth for several weeks. They sent back detailed reports about human military strength. The entire human space fleet had fewer than 50 ships. Most of them were small patrol vessels or cargo haulers. Only a dozen were built for fighting, and even those were tiny compared to Zephyrian bioships. Kethavar looked at the tactical display showing human ship positions. They had arranged their vessels in a defensive line between his fleet and their planet. It was a brave gesture, but pointless. His smallest bioship was 3 times larger than their biggest warship. His weapons could destroy human vessels from distances where their weapons could not even reach him. The communications officer, a young Zephyrian named Yethka, approached with her head bowed. "Admiral, we are receiving transmissions from the human fleet. They are asking us to state our intentions and leave their system." Kethavar made a sound that was part laugh and part hiss. "Tell them we are here to harvest their world. They can surrender now and make this easier for everyone, or they can fight and die. The outcome will be the same." The bioships of the harvest fleet moved into attack formation. Each vessel was unique, grown for specific purposes. The heavy assault ships had thick armor and powerful acid cannons. The medium ships were faster and carried swarms of living missiles. The light ships could move quickly and strike from unexpected angles. Human ships began moving to intercept them. Kethavar watched with mild interest as the primitive vessels fired their chemical rockets and positioned themselves for battle. Their formations were actually quite good, showing that humans understood basic military tactics. But tactics meant nothing when your weapons could not hurt your enemy. The first human ship opened fire when the fleets were still far apart. Streams of metal projectiles shot through space toward the Zephyrian formation. The projectiles moved fast, but bioship armor was designed to handle much worse. The metal pieces bounced off hardened skin or were absorbed by self-healing tissue. More human ships joined the attack. Energy beams lanced out from their weapons, striking bioship hulls. The beams burned through outer skin layers, but the ships simply grew new skin to replace what was damaged. Living vessels could repair themselves in minutes from damage that would destroy a metal ship. Kethavar decided it was time to show these humans what real weapons could do. He gave orders to his fleet commanders through the neural link. "Begin the harvest attack, target their largest ships first. Leave a few alive so they can see what happened to their fleet." The bioships responded by firing their organic weapons. Living missiles launched from launch tubes that were actually specialized organs. Each missile was a small creature with its own brain, capable of tracking targets and avoiding defensive fire. The missiles also carried acid that could eat through metal hulls in seconds. Plasma cannons opened fire next. These weapons were living creatures that had been bred to produce and shoot superheated gas. The plasma was hot enough to melt most metals and could burn through human ship armor like it was paper. The first human ship to be hit was a destroyer that had moved too far forward. 3 living missiles struck its hull and began eating through the metal. Plasma beams followed, turning the ship's armor into molten slag. The vessel broke apart in a chain of explosions as its fuel and ammunition were consumed by the acid and heat. More human ships fell under the bioweapon attack. Their defensive fire was brave but useless. Metal projectiles and energy beams could not seriously hurt living ships that could heal damage faster than it was inflicted. The humans were fighting with stone tools against an enemy armed with living weapons. Kethvar felt satisfied as he watched the one-sided battle. This was how it always went. Primitive species would resist for a short time, realize they could not win, then surrender. Soon the human fleet would be destroyed and his ships could begin the real work of harvesting the planet below. But something strange was happening. Even as their ships were destroyed around them, the remaining human vessels were not retreating. They kept fighting, kept shooting their useless weapons, kept trying to ram bioships with their tiny vessels. Most species gave up when they saw their weapons could not work. Humans seemed to fight harder. One human ship actually managed to ram into a medium bioship. The impact did little damage to the living vessel, but the human ship exploded with unusual force. The explosion was much bigger than it should have been from a simple chemical fuel detonation. For a moment, Kethvar wondered if humans had some kind of advanced explosive technology his scouts had missed. The bioship that was rammed shook from the explosion and several of its weapon organs were damaged, but the ship was already growing new ones to replace them. Living tissue was amazing in its ability to adapt and heal. That was why Zephyrian biotechnology had dominated the galaxy for so long. As the battle continued, Kethvar noticed something else unusual. Human radio transmissions were increasing, not decreasing. Usually when a fleet was being destroyed, communications would become desperate and then fade as ships were eliminated. But human chatter was getting more intense and it seemed to be directed at something beyond the current battle. Yethka approached again, looking confused. "Admiral, we are detecting new transmissions from deeper in the system. It appears the humans have additional ships approaching." Kethvar examined the sensor data. A single contact was moving toward them from the direction of the planet. It was larger than any human ship they had seen before. But it was still just one vessel against his entire harvest fleet. Even if it was their most powerful warship, it could not change the outcome of this battle. The new ship would arrive soon. Kethvar decided to finish off the remaining human defenders first, then deal with this newcomer. His bioships continued their methodical destruction of the human fleet. Soon there would be nothing left but debris and the memories of another species that had tried to resist the harvest. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the destruction of Earth's defensive fleet on the main screen. Ships she had served on, friends she had known for years, were being torn apart by alien weapons that seemed to eat through metal like acid. The enemy vessels looked more like giant sea creatures than spaceships, with surfaces that rippled and moved as if they were alive. The Defiance was different from every other ship in the human fleet. While other vessels were built with steel and titanium, using fusion reactors and chemical thrusters, the Defiance was humanity's first attempt at something completely new. The ship had been rushed into service when long-range sensors detected the alien fleet approaching Earth. There had been no time for proper testing, no time for safety checks. Either the experimental technology would work, or humanity would fall. The ship's hull looked normal from the outside, but inside it was filled with equipment that most scientists said was impossible. At the center of the vessel was the Heisenberg drive, a machine that had taken Earth's best physicists 5 years to build. The drive was based on a discovery that had shocked the scientific community. The physical laws that governed the universe were not actually fixed. They could be changed if you knew how. Dr. James Wu, the lead scientist who had designed the drive, stood next to Chen on the bridge. His hands shook as he prepared the activation sequence. "Captain, I have to warn you again. We've never tested this at full power. We don't know what will happen to us when we turn it on." Chen nodded. She had heard the warnings many times during the past few weeks. The Heisenberg drive worked by creating a field around the ship where the basic rules of physics could be rewritten. Inside the field, gravity might point up instead of down. Light might move faster or slower than normal. Chemical reactions that powered living things might stop working entirely. The problem was that humans were also made of chemicals and atoms that followed physical laws. If the drive changed those laws, it might kill everyone on the ship. But the alternative was watching humanity become slaves to an alien empire that had already destroyed dozens of other worlds. Dr. Wu, how long until we're in range of the alien fleet? Chen asked. Wu checked his instruments. 15 minutes at current speed. The enemy ships are finishing off our defensive line. We'll be facing their entire fleet alone. Chen looked at the tactical display. 27 alien vessels, each one larger and more powerful than anything humanity had ever built. The enemy's bioweapons had easily destroyed ships that represented the best of human technology. Chemical projectiles bounced off their living hulls. Energy weapons burned through their skin, but the ships simply grew new tissue to replace what was damaged. Traditional human weapons were useless against an enemy that could heal faster than it could be hurt. But the Defiance was not carrying traditional weapons. Instead of missiles and energy cannons, it carried something that no other species in the galaxy had ever imagined: the power to make the laws of physics optional. Lieutenant Rodriguez, the communications officer, looked up from her station. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the lead alien vessel. They're demanding our surrender. Put it on screen, Chen ordered. The image that appeared showed a creature that looked like a cross between an insect and an octopus. It had 4 arms, compound eyes, and mandibles that clicked when it spoke. The translation system had learned the alien language from earlier transmissions. Human vessel, you cannot defeat us, the alien commander said. Your weapons are primitive. Your ships are weak. Surrender now and your species will be allowed to serve the Zephyrian Empire. Continue fighting, and you will all die. Chen stepped forward. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Defiance. You attacked our world without warning or provocation. You destroyed our ships and killed our people. We will not surrender to murderers. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. Your defiance is meaningless. We have harvested dozens of worlds. Your species is no different from the others. You will learn to obey, or you will learn to die. The transmission ended. Chen turned to Dr. Wu. Doctor, are we ready? Wu nodded, though his face was pale. All systems are online. The Heisenberg field generators are charged and ready. Captain, once we activate this, there's no going back. We'll either win this battle or cease to exist. Chen thought about the billions of people on Earth below. Men, women, and children who had no idea that their entire future depended on an untested weapon that might kill its own crew. She thought about the human ships that had already been destroyed, and the crews, who had died fighting an enemy they could not hurt. All hands, this is the captain, Chen announced over the ship's communication system. In 60 seconds, we will engage the Heisenberg drive. This is experimental technology that has never been used in combat. I won't lie to you about the risks. We might not survive the activation. But if we don't try, humanity will definitely not survive. We are the last hope for our species. The bridge crew took their positions. Dr. Wu's fingers moved over the drive controls, entering the final activation codes. The ship's computer began a countdown from 10, 9, 8. The computer announced in a calm voice that seemed strange given what was about to happen. Chen watched the alien fleet growing larger on the screen. The bioships had formed an attack formation, preparing to destroy this last human vessel with the same ease they had shown against the rest of the fleet. 7, 6, 5. The aliens had no idea what was coming. They expected another primitive human ship that they could destroy with living weapons and healing hulls. They had never encountered a species that could rewrite the fundamental laws of reality. 4, 3, 2. Chen gripped the arms of her command chair. Around her, the bridge crew held their breath. Dr. Wu's hand hovered over the final activation switch. 1. Activating Heisenberg drive. The universe changed. At first, nothing seemed different. The bridge looked the same, the crew was still alive, and the alien fleet was still approaching. But then Chen noticed small things. The lights seemed brighter and dimmer at the same time. The gravity felt wrong, as if up and down had become suggestions rather than rules. When she looked at her hands, they seemed to flicker between solid and transparent. Dr. Wu was staring at his instruments, with wide eyes. "Captain, it's working. The field is stable and expanding. We're creating a zone around the ship where the local physics are flexible." On the main screen, the alien fleet was still approaching, but something was wrong with them. The bioships, that had seemed so alive and powerful, were beginning to slow down. Their living hulls, which had been rippling with organic motion, were becoming still. "What's happening to them?" Chen asked. Wu checked his readings. "The field is affecting their biological systems. Inside our influence zone, the chemical reactions that power living tissue are becoming unstable. Their ships aren't just vessels. They're actual living creatures. And living creatures can't survive when the laws of biochemistry stop working properly." Chen realized what this meant. Humanity had spent centuries trying to build better weapons, stronger armor, and faster ships. But they had approached the problem in a completely different way than every other species in the galaxy. While others had learned to work within the universe's rules, humans had learned to change the rules themselves. The first alien bioship entered the Heisenberg field and immediately began to die. Admiral Kethivar felt the first tremor of fear as his flagship entered the strange field surrounding the human vessel. Something was wrong. The bioship's neural pathways, which had been humming with life moments before, began sending confused signals. The living walls of his command chamber, which had been warm and pulsing with organic rhythm, grew cold and still. The ship was dying, not destroyed by weapons or torn apart by explosions, but simply ceasing to function at the most basic level. The biochemical processes that had kept the vessel alive for over 50 years were failing one by one. The heart that pumped nutrient fluid through the ship's veins was beating slower and weaker. The lungs that processed gases for the ship's metabolism were struggling to function. "What is happening?" Kethivar demanded, his forearms frantically working the biocontrols. But the controls were not responding properly. The neural interface that connected his mind to the ship was filled with static and pain. Yethka stumbled across the chamber, her compound eyes wide with panic. "Admiral, all our bioships are reporting the same problems. Their living systems are shutting down, the weapons are going offline. The healing processes have stopped working." Through the main bioscreen, Kethivar could see other ships in his fleet. The massive assault vessels that had seemed so powerful were now drifting like dead things. Their hulls, which should have been rippling with organic motion, were becoming gray and lifeless. The living missiles they had fired at human ships were dissolving in space, their biological components unable to maintain coherence. The human ship Defiance moved through this zone of impossible death like a shark through water. Whatever technology it was using, the humans themselves seemed unaffected. Their vessel continued to function normally while every Zephyrian bioship was dying around them. Kethivar tried to contact his other ship commanders, but the biocommunication system was failing. The living nerve clusters that transmitted messages between ships were shutting down as their chemical processes became unstable. He could see ships on the screen, but he could not talk to them. Dr. Wu stood at his station aboard the Defiance, watching readings that should have been impossible. "Captain, the field is working better than we hoped. The alien bioships are designed around biochemistry that depends on very specific physical laws. When we change those laws, their entire technological base becomes useless." Chen studied the tactical display. The massive alien fleet that had seemed so threatening was now helpless. Ships that had been healing damage in seconds were unable to repair anything. Weapons that had easily destroyed human vessels were offline. The enemy's greatest advantage, their living technology, had become their greatest weakness. "How is this possible?" Chen asked. "How can we change the laws of physics without affecting ourselves?" Wu pointed to indicators on his control panel. "The Heisenberg field is very precisely calibrated. We're not changing all physical laws, just specific ones related to certain types of chemical bonds and energy transfers. Human technology is based on different principles than their biotechnology. Our electronics and mechanical systems can function with slightly modified physics, Their living systems cannot. What Wu did not mention was that they had gotten incredibly lucky. The field could have easily killed every human on the ship. The fact that their bodies were still functioning was partly due to careful planning and partly due to chance. Human biochemistry was just different enough from alien biochemistry that the modified physical laws affected them differently. On the Zephyrian flagship, Kethvar was beginning to understand the horrible truth. The humans had not built a better weapon or stronger armor. They had built something that attacked the fundamental nature of existence itself. They had turned the laws of physics into a weapon. Every other species in the galaxy had developed technology by learning how the universe worked and building tools that used those natural laws. The Zephyrians had bred living ships that used biochemistry and organic processes. Other species built metal ships that used fusion power and electromagnetic forces, but all of them worked within the same basic framework of physical reality. Only, humans had looked at the laws of physics and decided they were more like suggestions that could be changed when convenient. The bioship's life support systems were failing now. The air recycling organs were producing wrong gas mixtures. The gravity generation organs were creating fields that pointed in random directions. The temperature regulation system was making some parts of the ship too hot, while others became freezing cold. Kethvar realized his entire fleet was doomed. Even if they could somehow escape this field of altered physics, the bioships would take months to heal from the damage being done to their biological systems, and the human ship showed no signs of stopping or weakening. "Yethka, can we send a surrender signal?" he asked. The communications officer tried several different biotransmitters, but none of them were working properly. "No, Admiral. All our communication organs are dying. We cannot even contact our own ships, much less the humans." Through the screen, Kethvar watched as another bioship simply came apart. The living hull that had been held together by biochemical bonds was dissolving as the chemical reactions that maintained its structure became impossible under the changed physical laws. The ship did not explode. It just stopped being a ship and became a cloud of organic molecules drifting in space. Aboard the Defiance, Chen was receiving reports from her crew about the enemy fleet's condition. Every alien vessel was either dead or dying. The bioships that had seemed so powerful were now helpless, their living technology useless in a zone where biochemistry followed different rules. "Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, "we're detecting weak signals from some of the alien ships. It looks like they're trying to communicate, but their biotransmitters are not working properly in the field." Chen considered this. The aliens had attacked Earth without warning, destroyed human ships, and killed thousands of people. They had come to harvest humanity like a crop, but now they were helpless, dying in their bioships as their technology failed around them. "Dr. Wu, if we shut down the field, will their ships recover?" Wu checked his instruments. "Not immediately. The damage to their biological systems is severe. It would take time for them to heal, assuming they could heal at all. Some of the biochemical damage might be permanent." Chen made her decision. "Open a channel on all frequencies. Maybe some of their equipment can still receive signals even if they can't transmit." The transmission went out across space, using every type of radio wave and energy pattern the human ship could produce. "Alien Fleet, this is Captain Chen of the UES Defiance. Your bioships are dying because they cannot function in our modified physics field. If you wish to surrender and leave this system immediately, power down all your weapons and withdraw beyond the orbit of our outermost planet. You have 5 minutes to comply." There was no response from the alien fleet, whether because their communication systems were too damaged or because they were too proud to surrender. The bioships continued drifting in the deadly field. Chen waited exactly 5 minutes, then gave the order that would change galactic history forever. "Dr. Wu, expand the field. Make sure every single alien ship is affected." The expanded Heisenberg field swept outward from the Defiance like an invisible wave of altered reality. As it reached each Zephyrian bioship, the vessels shuddered and began the final stages of biological collapse. Admiral Kethvar felt his flagship dying beneath him as fundamental chemical processes that had sustained life for billions of years simply stopped working. But the field's expansion was detected by more than just the doomed harvest fleet. Across the galaxy, automated, monitoring stations and deep space observers registered an impossible energy signature emanating from the small yellow star system. The readings made no sense according to established physics, but the data was clear. Someone was manipulating the basic laws of reality. On the water world of Aquinas Prime, the Cetacean Council was meeting in their deepest trench when the quantum sensors detected the anomaly. High Whale Chorus of Deep Currents paused in the middle of an ancient song as her technicians brought her the readings. "Show me these measurements again," she sang in the complex harmonies of her people's language. The data appeared in bioluminescent displays grown from living coral computers. "The energy signature is unlike anything in our databases," reported Singer of Strange Tides. "It appears that local space-time in that region has been modified. The physical constants are fluctuating in patterns that should be impossible." The Cetacean Council had been watching the galaxy for thousands of years. Their species was old and wise, preferring to observe rather than interfere. They had seen the rise and fall of dozens of civilizations, including the aggressive expansion of the Zephyrian Empire, but they had never seen anything like this. "What species controls that system?" Chorus of Deep Currents asked. "According to our records, a young race called humans. They achieved interstellar travel only recently. Their technology appeared primitive, based on nuclear fusion and metal construction. Nothing that would suggest capability for reality manipulation." On the crystal towers of Geometric Prime, the Silicon Collective processed the same data through their quantum consciousness network. The mechanical beings that had evolved from ancient computer systems found the readings even more disturbing than biological species did. Unit Prime 7742 shared its analysis with the collective. "The humans have developed technology that treats physical laws as variable parameters. This represents a fundamental shift in galactic power balance. All current military doctrine assumes physics remains constant during conflict." The Silicon Collective had always prided itself on logical thinking and precise calculations. Their entire civilization was built on mathematical principles and physical laws that they considered absolute. The idea that another species could simply change those laws was deeply threatening to their worldview. Assessment: if humans can modify local physics, traditional defenses become irrelevant. Unit Prime 7742 continued. "Our hardened quantum cores designed to resist all known weapons could potentially be neutralized by altering fundamental particle interactions." Meanwhile, in the living cities of Symbios, the fungal network was already adapting to this new information. Unlike other species that saw the human technology as a threat, the fungal collective recognized it as an opportunity. Spore Mother Vast Growth spread her consciousness through millions of networked organisms as she considered the implications. "If humans can change physics, perhaps they can be convinced to modify biological processes as well. Imagine the possibilities for enhanced growth, improved reproduction, expanded consciousness." The fungal network had always been interested in biological experimentation and evolution. They saw the human ability to rewrite reality as the ultimate tool for advancing life itself. Where other species feared this power, the fungi were fascinated by it. But nowhere was the response more immediate than on the fortress world of Garrison 7, where the Galactic Peacekeeping Force maintained its largest military installation. General Steelclaw of the Raptor Empire was studying the sensor readings with growing alarm. "How reliable is this data?" he demanded, his predatory eyes fixed on the impossible energy signatures. "Confirmed by 17 different monitoring stations," replied his aide, Commander Quickstrike. "The readings are consistent across all sensor types. Something in the Sol system is actively modifying local space-time." General Steelclaw had fought in dozens of wars across the galaxy. He had seen weapons that could destroy planets, shields that could stop antimatter explosions, and ships that could travel faster than light. But he had never encountered anything that could change the fundamental rules of reality. What happened to the Zephyrian harvest fleet that was sent to that system? No contact for the past 6 hours. Long-range sensors show debris clouds where their bioships should be. It appears the entire fleet has been destroyed. The Raptor Empire had been watching the Zephyrian expansion with concern. The bioship technology was impressive, and the harvest fleets had conquered system after system without significant resistance. But apparently they had finally encountered something that could stop them. "Send a priority message to High Command, General," Steelclaw ordered. "The humans are not a primitive species. They possess weapons technology beyond our current understanding. All military assessment of human capabilities must be revised immediately." Back in the Sol system, the last Zephyrian bioship was dissolving into its component molecules. Admiral Kethvar had died when his flagship's life support failed, but not before sending a final transmission that would be recovered weeks later by Zephyrian salvage teams. The message was simple and terrifying. "We encountered something impossible. The humans can rewrite the laws of nature itself. Do not engage them. Do not approach their territory. They are not like other species. They are something new." Captain Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the debris cloud that had once been an invasion fleet. The Heisenberg field had done its work with terrible efficiency. Every alien bioship had been reduced to lifeless organic matter floating in space. "Dr. Wu, what's the status of our systems?" she asked. The scientist checked his instruments carefully. All systems stable. The drive performed exactly as designed. "We successfully created a zone of altered physics that was lethal to biological technology while remaining safe for our mechanical and electronic systems." Chen nodded, but she was already thinking about the larger implications of what they had done. The aliens had come to harvest Earth like they had harvested dozens of other worlds. But instead of finding another primitive species to conquer, they had discovered something unprecedented, a civilization that could weaponize uncertainty itself. "Doctor, how quickly can we build more ships like this one?" Wu considered the question. "The Heisenberg drive is still experimental technology. We'll need time to study the data from this engagement and refine the designs. But with proper resources and engineering teams, perhaps a dozen ships within a year, hundreds within a decade." Chen looked out at the stars, knowing that news of this battle was already spreading across the galaxy. Other species would learn that humans could rewrite the laws of physics. Some would see this as a threat to be eliminated. Others might try to form alliances or trade agreements. A few might even attempt to steal or reverse engineer the technology. But one thing was certain: the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. "Set course for Earth orbit," Chen ordered. "It's time to tell our people that the age of being prey is over." 6 months after the destruction of the Zephyrian harvest fleet, the galaxy had become a very different place. Trade routes that had operated for centuries were suddenly redirected around human space. Diplomatic missions that had never bothered with primitive species were now desperately trying to contact Earth. Military fleets that had seemed unstoppable were being recalled to defend their home systems. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session on the neutral station of Harmony Point. Representatives from 47 different species gathered in the vast chamber, but for the first time in galactic history, the humans had been invited to attend. More importantly, they had been invited as equals rather than as subjects to be discussed. Ambassador Lisa Park stood at the podium, representing humanity for the first time at a galactic gathering. She was a career diplomat who had spent years preparing for first contact with alien civilizations, but no amount of training could have prepared her for this situation. Instead of humanity begging for recognition or trying to prove they deserved a place among the stars, she was addressing species that were afraid of what humans might do next. "Honored representatives," she began, her voice carrying across the chamber through universal translation systems. "I stand before you today not as a supplicant seeking acceptance, but as a voice for a species that has been forced to defend itself against unprovoked aggression." The chamber was filled with creatures of every imaginable form. The aquatic cetaceans floated in specialized water tanks. The crystalline silicon collective projected their consciousness through geometric avatars. The Raptor Empire delegation perched on elevated platforms, their sharp eyes never leaving the human ambassador. High whale chorus of deep currents sang her response in harmonious tones. "The destruction of the Zephyrian fleet has been noted. Your species' technological capabilities were previously unknown to this council. We seek understanding of your intentions regarding galactic stability. Ambassador Park had expected this question. Every intelligence report from the past 6 months indicated that alien civilizations were terrified of human military technology. The ability to rewrite physical laws was beyond anything they had ever encountered. Our intentions are simple, Park replied. Humanity wishes to exist in peace, to trade with other species, and to contribute to galactic civilization. We do not seek conquest or dominion over others, but we will defend ourselves against any who threaten our people or our world. A representative from the insectoid hive buzzed its response. Your defensive capabilities appear to exceed those of any known military force. The Zephyrian Empire has harvested 17 worlds in the past century. No species has been able to resist their bioship technology, yet you destroyed their entire fleet without sustaining any casualties. This was the heart of the matter, Park realized. The galaxy had lived with the Zephyrian threat for generations, accepting that some species would be harvested because no one could stop it. Now, humanity had demonstrated that the supposedly unstoppable harvest fleets could be defeated, and defeated easily. The Zephyrians attacked our world without warning or provocation, Park explained. They came to harvest our people like crops. We responded with the only weapon capable of stopping them. We did not seek this conflict, but we did not hesitate to end it. General Steelclaw of the Raptor Empire leaned forward, his predatory instincts focused on the human representative. Your weapon technology is unlike anything in our military databases. You appeared to manipulate fundamental physical constants. How is this possible? Park smiled. This question had been anticipated, and humanity's response had been carefully planned. General, every species develops technology based on their understanding of the universe. Most civilizations learn to work within natural laws, finding clever ways to use physics to achieve their goals. Humans simply approach the problem differently. She paused, letting the implications sink in before continuing. We asked why the laws of physics should be considered unchangeable. We discovered that what other species consider absolute constants are actually more like suggestions, local recommendations that can be modified under the right circumstances. The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives tried to process this information. Species that had spent millennia perfecting their understanding of physics were being told that their entire scientific foundation was incomplete. Unit Prime 7742 of the Silicon Collective projected its analysis. If physical constants are variable, all current military and defensive doctrine becomes obsolete. Shields designed to resist energy weapons become meaningless if energy itself behaves differently. Armor designed to withstand kinetic impacts fails if kinetic forces follow modified rules. Exactly, Park confirmed. But this technology is not something we develop for conquest. It emerged from our scientific curiosity and our refusal to accept that anything is impossible. We use it now only for defense. The fungal network representative, Spore Mother Vast Growth, spread her tendrils in a gesture of interest. Your species' approach to reality manipulation suggests fascinating possibilities for biological enhancement. Would humans consider collaborative research projects? This was the opening Park had been hoping for. Humanity is very interested in peaceful cooperation with other species. We believe that sharing knowledge and working together benefits everyone. But we will only engage in such cooperation with civilizations that respect our sovereignty and our right to exist. The message was clear without being threatening. Humanity was offering the carrot of technological cooperation, but the stick of reality-warping weapons remained visible in the background. High whale chorus of deep currents sang another question. What assurances can your species provide that this reality manipulation technology will not be used aggressively against peaceful civilizations? Park had prepared for this as well. The same assurances that any species provides, our word, our actions, and our commitment to peaceful coexistence. But I would point out that humanity has already demonstrated restraint. We could have used our technology to expand aggressively after defeating the Zephyrians. Instead, we're here seeking diplomatic solutions. What she didn't mention was that 12 more ships equipped with Heisenberg drives were already under construction in Earth's orbital shipyards. Humanity was preparing for the possibility that diplomacy might fail, but they were also genuinely hoping it would succeed. The debate continued for hours as representatives tried to understand what humanity's emergence meant for galactic civilization. Some species saw humans as a threat to be contained. Others viewed them as potential allies against common enemies. A few were primarily interested in the technological possibilities. Finally, chorus of deep currents called for order. This council recognizes that the emergence of human civilization represents a significant change in galactic dynamics. We propose the following. Humanity will be granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all rights and responsibilities thereof. In exchange, humanity commits to using their advanced technology only for defensive purposes and agrees to participate in regular diplomatic reviews. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. 31 species voted in favor, 12 voted against, and 4 abstained. Humanity had officially joined galactic civilization, not as a junior member seeking acceptance, but as a major power that demanded respect. As Ambassador Park left the chamber, she reflected on how much had changed since the Zephyrian attack. 6 months ago, humanity had been unknown beyond their own solar system. Now they were a recognized galactic power whose technology made other species nervous. The age of being harvested, conquered, or ignored was over. Humanity had proven that they could rewrite the fundamental laws of reality itself when necessary. They had shown that the impossible was just another engineering problem waiting to be solved. But most importantly, they had demonstrated that there were consequences for threatening Earth. The first time aliens saw a Terran warship had indeed been their last stand. Not humanity's last stand, but the last stand of a galaxy where physics was considered absolute, and humans were considered primitive. The stars themselves seemed brighter now, as if the universe was eager to see what impossible thing humanity would discover next.